Many of us work in situations where we may be at risk of exposure to infectious materials. An exposure risk is when it is possible for you to come into contact with pathogens while performing your job. You may come into contact with pathogens when you work with contaminated objects or fingers to your mouth, eyes, nose, or other mucous membranes, handle patient equipment, used needles, soiled laundry, or when you dispose of patient waste materials. What you may not realize is that even brief contact with some infectious materials can cause serious health problems. For example, how severe a risk is a single needle puncture with a syringe containing blood contaminated with hepatitis virus? Well, life is full of risks. We take many of these risks every day driving a car, engaging in sports, or traveling. We may feel we have individual control over these risks, so they're acceptable to us. However, in the workplace, individual acceptance of risk is not part of OSHA's rules. OSHA requires that controls and compliance methods be put in place by employers and followed by employees in order to eliminate or minimize risk of exposure. These controls and compliance methods must be included by law in your employer's Bloodborne Pathogens Exposure Control Plan. The Exposure Control Plan is a written program outlining the protective measures that your employer will take to eliminate or minimize your exposure to blood and other potentially infectious materials. The employer must conduct an exposure determination to identify job classifications as well as tasks and procedures in which employees are at potential risk of exposure. The Exposure Control Plan must cover at least the following points: job classifications in which employees have occupational exposure, tasks and procedures that would entail some employees to have exposure, methods of compliance with the standard, Hepatitis B vaccination, post-exposure evaluation and follow-up, evaluation of exposure incidents, communication of hazards, and record keeping. Furthermore, the plan must be reviewed and updated annually or whenever changes in tasks, procedures, or employee positions affect occupational exposure. Also, the plan must be accessible to you. OSHA also requires that you must be trained concerning bloodborne pathogens, including details of the exposure control plan. In the sections that follow, we will discuss the following methods of compliance of the exposure control plan: engineering controls, work practice controls, personal protective equipment. Your employer is responsible for putting in place the proper engineering controls for your worksite and for making sure that the controls are inspected and maintained on a regular basis or replaced when necessary. You are responsible for reporting any engineering controls you see that need attention. Methods of compliance include warning labels and signs, personal protective equipment, engineering controls such as safety needles and other safer medical devices, sharps disposal containers, and waste containers and bags. We will go through each of these methods now. Warning labels must be put on anything that contains biohazardous materials, including refrigerators and freezers containing blood or other infectious materials, containers used to store, transport, or ship blood, organs, or other materials, and waste containers. These labels must have the biohazard symbol and must be fluorescent orange or orange-red, or predominantly so, with lettering and symbols in a contrasting color. Generally, red bags or red containers may be substituted for labels, but it is a best practice to have both a red bag and a label. Some states require both.